Hi, I'm Luke, welcome back to PhotoBite, and today we've got our hands on the Huawei P20 Pro. Let's get into it. So the Huawei P20 Pro doesn't have not one, not two, but three different lenses. So on the bottom here we have a 20 megapixel monochrome sensor. This is really good for high contrast situations. It's really good at getting genuine black and white pictures rather than having to put a filter over the top. Then we've got the 40 megapixel RGB sensor at the f1.6. So this is the main interest that we have in today, is seeing how that resolution handles within a small sensor. And then lastly we have a 8 megapixel telephoto lens. So this is going to be able to get you a bit closer to the subject without using any artificial zoom. But obviously a lot of people want to know the actual internals of what this phone has to offer. So inside you have a 4000 milliamp battery. It does also run powered through the AI system that Huawei are pushing at the moment. So with a 4000 milliamp battery, that will clearly see you all the way through the day and maybe into the next day as well, depending on your usage. We have a 970 Kirin chip that runs also NPU, so it's very good for using with AI, and Huawei are very much pushing the AI side of their phones. And by having an NPU built in, it helps with the processing of AI, because within the camera itself, it can detect 19 different types of subjects, tell the difference between food, cat, dog, a plant and a flower. It's incredible what this camera can do, and today we're going to go out and we're going to try those things and see how it handles in the real world. There we go, and it's saying flowers. It's saying flowers there. Now if we point it towards this grass here, now it's saying greenery. So you can tell the difference between greenery and flowers. And it literally does it in a matter of, what, 2 seconds? That's incredible. We can just take a picture like that. Now, one of the interesting things as well is this is the first time that Huawei have brought in a zoom feature on their cameras. So I'm just going to tap here and you can see how close we can get with a 3x zoom. And also with the telephoto lens, they also built in image stabilization. So as you can probably see, it's actually stabilizing the footage. We can go even closer, the 5x zoom. I'm going to take a picture like that. That is absolutely insane. I've never actually seen like a phone camera get that close to a subject. See it on the camera, but you can see that background blur really nicely. That's insane. Let's go in a zoom. There's my hand, background, hand, background. That's pretty impressive. So the cameras themselves, here we have a 20 megapixel f1.6 monochrome sensor. Then this one, which is the one that we're interested in, is the 40 megapixel f1.8 camera, and they say they talk about light fusion technology in this one. So the idea is you get less grain, more detail, better shots, even though the sensor is relatively small to what a full frame sensor would be, like the Sony A7R. And then lastly, we have an 8 megapixel f2.4 telephoto lens. This gives you optically 3x zoom, but they also mention a 5x hybrid zoom, which would obviously assume they incorporate the 40 megapixel sensor into that to get you a bit closer to your subject and give you, still with the resolution, giving you a high quality image. They've been working really closely with Leica, so all the lenses here are built with Leica technology, and what that enables you to do is get really sharp photos. As many photographers know in the world, it's not just about the camera that gets the good pictures, it's also about the glass, and having a company like Leica on board is really going to help these pictures stand out from the crowd. For someone who's going to buy a phone and doesn't want to spend the money on a camera, I think you're going to be very, very impressed with what this camera can do and its capabilities. And we've tried it out, we've tested it, and it really stands its ground on what it's able to do as a camera. So right now we're just in the normal mode, we're in photo here. So this is photo mode. And then if you hit zoom, you can get a nice close-up of the pier. Hit again, and we got even closer. Now, when you go into video, you get access to 4K at 30 frames a second. You got 1080 as well. Then we go down to 720, you can get 960 frames a second, which obviously the resolution is amazing, but the results you get are quite impressive. And then we go over to the Pro feature. So here we've got access to ISO, shutter speed, your exposure compensation, or in this case exposure value, and then your autofocus and white balance. So you're able to play with that. So if we flip it around, so we can tap onto there and we'll dial it up. and we can see the changes. So we'll go to ISO, we'll dial that as well. So we're really able to take control of how the picture looks. We can darken it as well, and we can take a picture, and then we can see how that picture comes out. And it's really clean. If we zoom in on that, that's pretty impressive. Now, let's have a look at the 40 megapixels. You can also shoot RAW, by the way, so you can do that. That's only in the Pro feature, so they won't happen when you just go into the auto mode. You do need to go into Pro. Now we're going to go to the 40 megapixels. Let's go back to, let's bring it down so we've got a nice clean ISO. Let's go to 100. Let's drop that to auto, we'll let that guess, and then we'll let that be about 0.3. Now if we take a picture, now if we have a look, yeah, that's a big difference. Let's have a look at the previous picture, which is this. So this is the 10 megapixel shot. So you can see the resolution isn't quite there. Now if we zoom out and go over to the 40 megapixel resolution, you can see a big difference in the clarity. It's much sharper, much more evened out, and it's nowhere near as grainy either. Yeah, it's safe to say I think we're impressed with that. You do also have a more feature as well. This gives access to the Slo-mo, you've got panoramic, you've got monochrome, you've got light painting, so that gives you the more of a creative function. HDR, let's have a go with that, let's see how that comes out. So the issue we have, let's create a scenario. So the issue we have at the moment is it's quite dark up here and quite light over here. So if we take a picture, should balance those out. And yeah, it does really well, look at that. It's really brought out the shadows, it's maintained the highlights and still catching the detail. And, get closer, I'm safe to say there's little to no noise in that. I mean, there's a little bit, but nothing that's going to stand out or ruin the picture. So using the resolution, it was really quite impressive. You'll see in the pictures of the pier how I go from wide, close, and then really close up, and then when you zoom into the detail, it's all still there. And the 40 megapixel sensor handles grain and that really well. I was a bit skeptical when I heard that it was putting in a very large resolution sensor into a phone, because when you cram loads of pixels together, the issue you get is you get lots of grain, you get lots of noise, and then because just of the sheer amount of pixels, you actually lose sharpness in that case, or in other cases it looks too sharp. So it was nice to see how Huawei was using the AI to correct all those issues, and the shots in low light are very impressive. The close-up shots as well are really good. The portrait mode is very, very effective. I like the fact that Huawei have gone out and they've been one of the first camera manufacturers to put 3 different cameras onto their phone, as well as also keeping with the 20 megapixel monochrome sensor. I think that's really interesting. I think it's quite clever how they're using that to help with the other sensors. The idea of them actually using the cameras together to work as a team to get the best images possible is really amazing to see. And the AI, like I said, is really helping to fine-tune those links between each of the cameras to get the optimal pictures for you. So that's our review on the Huawei P20 Pro. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm Luke, this is PhotoBite, and we'll see you next time.